The ballroom lights flickered as the screens behind the stage cut to static. Hundreds of guests froze mid-sentence, champagne flutes suspended in the air. The billionaire on stage tightened his jaw, sensing, too late, that something was wrong. And then the first video appeared. A patient gasping for air in a dimly lit hallway. A nurse crying quietly into her sleeve. A doctor shouting, "We don't have enough staff. Someone call the supervisor." Time code blinking in the corner. Evidence. Receipts. Truth. Marcus Grayson's face went pale. He recognized every scene. He caused every scene. He built an empire on suffering, and tonight it was being dismantled in front of 800 guests, 27 cameras, and a live stream he didn't know existed. The crowd erupted. Phones rose like a forest of judgment. Gasps turned into murmurs, murmurs into outrage. Somewhere near the back of the ballroom, a woman in worn blue scrubs stepped forward, her face calm, her eyes steady. The billionaire had humiliated her less than an hour ago. Now she was about to end a $2.1 billion empire. Her name was Dr. Catherine Hayes. This was her night. The helicopter blades sliced through the evening air as Marcus stepped out onto the rooftop helipad of the Ritz-Carlton. He adjusted his $7,000 Tom Ford suit, smoothing the lapels with the same precision he used when cutting hospital budgets. His Patek Philippe watch, worth more than a nurse's annual salary, glinted beneath the city lights. Assistants surrounded him instantly. "Mr. Grayson, the press is waiting downstairs. Your speech has been prepared." The governor arrived 10 minutes ago. Marcus lifted a hand, silencing them. "I know the routine," he said. "I perfected it." He walked toward the rooftop elevator, each step measured, confident, arrogant. Tonight was his favorite night of the year. The Grayson Health Foundation Gala, a celebration of excellence in healthcare. A carefully curated performance, a chance to polish his public image while his hospitals deteriorated from the inside. He loved it. He lived for it. He owned the room before he even entered it. Downstairs in the service hallway of the ballroom, Dr. Catherine Hayes stood quietly, adjusting the sleeve of her scrubs. She hadn't planned on wearing them to the gala, but 5 minutes before her shift ended, the ER was hit with a 4-car pileup from the freeway. With only 2 nurses scheduled because Marcus had slashed the night staff budget, Catherine stayed to help. Her hands still carried faint smears of dried blood. Her hair was tied back hastily. Her badge was crooked. Her face looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. She had worked under Grayson Health Systems for 15 years. She had seen its transformation from a community-focused institution to a profit-obsessed machine. She had watched policies shift, budgets tighten, staff suffer, and patients die. And she had documented every moment of it. Not emotionally, not impulsively, but clinically, like a surgeon preparing for a long, difficult operation. She walked toward the ballroom doors, clutching an envelope close to her chest. Inside were the first of the receipts. She wasn't ready to release them tonight. She wasn't even sure she had the courage. At least not until Marcus humiliated her. The ballroom shimmered with chandeliers and gold. Politicians, investors, TV reporters, board members, elite donors dressed in gowns and tuxedos. Champagne flowed freely. An orchestra played softly. Every table had floral arrangements costing thousands. It looked like luxury. It smelled like wealth. But Catherine knew the truth. In the ER 15 miles away, a woman had died yesterday on a stretcher because there was only one nurse available. And yet here they were, celebrating excellence. Catherine took a seat near the wall, unnoticed, invisible, replaceable. She preferred it that way. People reveal themselves when they think no one is watching. Marcus took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, "welcome to the Grayson Health Foundation Gala. Tonight, we honor the heroes of healthcare." Applause erupted. Catherine stared at him expressionless. Heroes? He cut their staffing. He ignored their warnings. He blamed them when things went wrong. He fired them when they spoke up. Marcus gestured vaguely toward the crowd. We have nurses, doctors, and administrators with us tonight. The backbone of our operation. A cameraman focused on Catherine at that moment, her scrubs glaringly out of place among the glittering gowns. Marcus noticed and smirked. Ah, yes, he said loudly. Some people came straight from work, it seems. Laughter rippled across the tables. Catherine looked down at her hands. The humiliation began. Later, Marcus unveiled a new hospital safety protocol. He praised himself for revolutionary leadership. But Catherine recognized every bullet point, every reform, every policy. She wrote that protocol. She submitted it. He rejected it. And now he was taking credit for it publicly. Her jaw tightened. Guests applauded. Marcus drank in the praise like wine. During a Q&A, a board member asked, "What about the rising patient mortality in your flagship ER?" Marcus laughed. Mortality rises when people don't follow procedures. Some of our nurses simply aren't competent. A murmur spread across the room. Catherine felt her throat tighten. He wasn't just lying. He was blaming her team. Blaming people who had worked double shifts. Blaming nurses who cried in their cars after losing patients. Blaming the people who tried to keep the hospital alive despite his cuts. And then, he turned toward her. You know what I mean, Catherine. The spotlight hit her like a slap. Everyone turned to stare. Her skin burned. Her heart pounded. Her humiliation was complete. Marcus held up a cheap plastic plaque. Staff Appreciation Award, 15 years of service. He smiled sweetly at Catherine. Come accept your award. She walked to the stage slowly, stiffly, quietly. She took the plaque from his hand. Then, while she was still on stage, Marcus leaned toward the mic and said, "Maybe someday, Catherine, you'll contribute something meaningful, like remembering to order enough bandages." Laughter roared. Catherine froze. Marcus then snatched the plaque back and dropped it into a nearby trash can. The metal clatter echoed through the entire ballroom. Gasps, whispers, phone cameras are rising. Catherine stood there trembling, but not with shame, with certainty. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. She turned and walked off stage, disappearing into the shadows. Marcus laughed and tapped the mic. Now, where were we? He had no idea, but the collapse had already begun. The marble bathroom glowed soft gold from the chandelier above, but the woman staring into the mirror looked like she'd crawled out of a battlefield. Catherine Hayes gripped the sink with both hands, knuckles white, shoulders trembling. She didn't cry. Not a single tear. Her humiliation wasn't weakness. It was ignition. Her reflection stared back, tired, bruised by life, still in scrubs, still smelling faintly of antiseptic and sweat. A woman who had given 15 years to a system that fed her to the wolves and laughed. She opened her hand. The crumpled staff appreciation plaque lay in her palm, smeared with a fingerprint of wine from the trash can. She whispered, "Okay, you want to fight?" Her voice was quiet, measured, certain. She pulled out her phone. 2 contacts stared back. "RC, RT." She typed 3 words. "It's time. Now." Sent. 2 seconds later. Thumbs up from RC. Video camera from RT. Catherine inhaled once. Held it. Released. Then she turned toward the door. It was time to end Marcus Grayson. The flashback didn't begin with something dramatic. It began with something small. A woman in room 17. Mrs. Leary had gone into cardiac arrest right after her scheduled surgery. Not because the operation went wrong, because there was only one post-op nurse available on the entire floor. Catherine had sprinted down the hall when she heard the alarm. She and a medical tech tried everything, but Mrs. Leary died on the table. Later that night, Catherine found out. Staffing had been cut by 40%. Without warning, on Marcus's orders, she confronted the administration. They shrugged. Budget alignment. She confronted the chief operating officer. He smiled coldly. Efficiency is the future. She confronted Marcus himself. He said, patients die, Catherine. That's life. They're numbers, not miracles. She walked out of his office feeling like someone had slit open her chest. That night, she opened a new folder on her laptop. Name, GH Systemic Risks, Confidential. She didn't realize it then, but she had just begun the autopsy of a billion-dollar empire. Catherine began documenting everything. Not emotionally, not impulsively, clinically, like the surgeon preserving tissue samples. Photos of understaffed wings, screenshots of illegal patient-to-nurse ratios, emails from Marcus demanding cost restructuring, proof that ventilators listed as purchased never arrived. Billing records showed Medicare was being charged for surgeries never performed. Nurses are collapsing during double shifts. A janitor was mopping blood because there were no available nurses. A patient was dying in the hallway at 3:27 a.m. Her folder grew to 10 gigabytes, then 25, then 47. Late one night, she stared at the screen, exhausted, ready to give up. And that's when she met him. He sat in the hospital cafeteria, alone, eating chicken tenders, quiet, unassuming, wearing a cheap tie. He introduced himself gently. Richard Chen. I'm new. Shadowing the board. Catherine nodded politely, ready to leave, until he lowered his voice. Dr. Hayes, I know what you've been collecting. Her blood went cold. She froze. Richard raised both hands calmly. I'm not here to stop you. I'm here because I need it. She stared, terrified. He pulled a badge from his jacket, just enough for her to see the gold glint of the FBI seal. Then he covered it again. Healthcare Fraud Division, he whispered. We've been building a case for a year, but we can't get close enough. You already have what we can't legally obtain. She stepped back. This is insane. No, he said softly. What Marcus is doing is insane. And you're the only one who can help stop it before more people die. She hesitated. What if I get fired? Blacklisted? Sued? Richard leaned forward. Then I'll make sure the federal government protects you. But Catherine, people are dying. He's making billions from it. Her hands trembled. She sat down. For the first time since she started collecting evidence, she felt less alone. Catherine and Richard developed a system. Every few weeks, she would accidentally bump into him in hallways, cafeterias, and elevators. They talked in coded language. Supply shortages meant fraud. Staffing gaps meant illegal ratios. Process concerns meant Medicare violations. She passed him evidence discreetly. USB drives inside empty coffee cups. Photos printed and folded into cafeteria napkins. Recordings disguised as note pages. Richard's cover as a board observer allowed him to sit in on meetings with Marcus. He recorded everything. Marcus didn't hide his corruption in private meetings. He bragged about it. Shift night nursing cuts alone saved us $12 million this quarter. The lawsuits cost much less. Patients don't know what's medically necessary. Bill them for everything. No one audits healthcare billionaires. We are the oversight. Richard collected 400 hours of Marcus incriminating himself. But something was missing. A public moment. A spark. A match. That's when she appeared. Catherine first noticed her in the ER waiting room. A young Latina woman with a camera slung around her neck. Sitting quietly. Observing. She came 3 nights in a row. Never speaking. Only watching. On the 4th night, she approached Catherine as she filled out a chart. You're Dr. Hayes, right? Yes. The woman extended a card. Rebecca Torres, investigative journalist, ProPublica. Catherine stiffened. I can't talk about anything. I know what you're doing, Rebecca said softly. I've been investigating Grayson Health for a year, and you're the only one inside who's documenting everything. Catherine froze. I don't know what you mean. Rebecca smiled sadly. You're not the only one trying to stop him. She pulled up her phone. A folder titled Grayson, Follow the Money. Hundreds of documents. Shell corporations. Bank transfers. Emails between Marcus and offshore accounts. Photos of forged medical invoices. Recordings of meetings between Marcus and politicians. Their data sets overlapped perfectly. Rebecca whispered, You have the clinical evidence, the bodies, the violations, the deaths. I have the financials, the corruption, the laundering, the political cover. They needed a third piece, a catalyst. Catherine knew exactly where to find it. For the first time, the three of them sat together, quietly, secretly, in a supply closet that smelled faintly of bleach. Catherine, Richard, Rebecca, three people from three worlds. All of this means nothing unless the public sees it, Rebecca said. And unless the FBI has grounds to arrest him in real time, Richard added. And unless the board sees it with their own eyes, Catherine finished. The gala, the perfect storm, a room full of politicians, cameras, reporters, board members, donors, witnesses. We expose everything tonight, Catherine said, and we bring him down in one blow. Richard nodded slowly. I'll have agents positioned inside, he said. Rebecca added, I'll live stream everything. Catherine clenched her fists. Then all I need is a reason. Rebecca frowned. A reason? Catherine looked down. He needs to humiliate me publicly. He needs to be the one who lights the match. Richard stared at her. That won't be hard, Catherine said. He's already done it 100 times. But tonight, she would weaponize it. Catherine stepped out of the bathroom and into the service hallway, her breathing steady, her pulse cold. She was done being his excuse. Now she would become his downfall. She walked toward the ballroom. Inside, Marcus raised a champagne glass. To excellence, he said. He had no idea. This was the last toast he would ever give as a free man. The ballroom was a glittering beast now, alive with noise, laughter, and polished lies. The wealthy glided across marble floors, their designer shoes clicking like teeth. Marcus Grayson stood at the center of it all, basking in attention. Politicians shook his hand too eagerly. Investors hovered near him like insects around a golden flame. Hospital board members complimented his visionary leadership. Everywhere he looked, people smiled at him. Everywhere he looked, he saw success. He didn't see the cracks forming in the floor beneath him. Not yet. She slipped in quietly, so quietly that no one noticed at first. Still in scrubs, still carrying the faint smell of an ER that never slept. Still invisible to the gilded monsters around her. But this time, she was not the prey. She moved through the shadows along the edge of the ballroom, her eyes tracking Marcus as he charmed donors and lied with elegant ease. Rebecca, disguised as a photographer, caught her eye and gave a subtle nod. Her camera was already recording. Live. Richard stood near the board table, blending in perfectly. No badge visible. No weapon drawn. Just an unimportant man taking notes. Catherine inhaled. This was the calm before the storm. The moment came softly, like a knife slid gently between ribs. A hospital donor approached Marcus with a camera crew. Mr. Grayson, could you speak about the tragedy in the ER last night? The patient who died. Marcus cut him off with a rehearsed smile. There are no tragedies here, he said. Only underperformers. And tonight we celebrate excellence. His eyes slid toward Catherine, and the smile sharpened into something predatory. Speaking of underperformers, Marcus said loudly, Our head nurse is here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Dr. Catherine Hayes. The spotlight blasted onto Catherine. She froze, not from fear, but calculation. Marcus continued. This woman here, bless her heart, came straight to this beautiful event in her scrubs. Laughter. She works hard, but unfortunately, hard work isn't always enough. More laughter. And last night, well, let's just say we need people who can keep up. The donors laughed. The board looked uncomfortable. Phone cameras turned. Someone whispered, "That's the nurse from the news story. The ER death." Marcus smirked. He smelled blood. "I mean, look at her," he said loudly. "No polish. No presentation. Nurses like her make the whole system look unprofessional." The crowd murmured, some in disgust. Some are in agreement. Catherine's hands tightened. This is the moment. This is the spark. This is the match. She stepped forward, slowly, steadily, like a surgeon approaching an open wound. The whole room watched her, some with pity, some with discomfort, Marcus with arrogance. He leaned toward the mic. "You have something to say, Catherine? A defense? An excuse?" Her face was calm, too calm. She approached the stage stairs, ascending step by step, the lights catching the faint dried blood on her scrubs. Marcus chuckled. "Please enlighten us." Her voice was soft, but it cut through the room like a scalpel. "Mr. Grayson, I came here tonight not to defend myself." She stopped in the center of the stage, her back straight, her spine like steel, but to defend the truth. Marcus blinked. A crack of fear flickered across his face. Catherine reached into her scrub pocket and pulled out a simple black tablet. "And the truth," she said, "is something you've been running from for a very long time." She tapped the screen, and the ballroom's world shattered. The giant LED screens behind the stage flickered, shivered, cracked into static. Then, a video played. Not a polished hospital commercial, not a smiling doctor, not a happy patient. A woman gasping on a stretcher, alarms blaring, a single nurse running between 4 patients, the timestamp blinking harshly. Board members stiffened, donors leaned forward. Marcus froze. Another clip, a voicemail recording. "Nurse Hayes, please, there's only one of us tonight. Patients are crashing. We need more staff." Another clip, a patient lying for hours in his own vomit because no staff could reach him. Then, Marcus's voice, recorded from a board meeting. "Deaths are expected. Lawsuits cost less than staffing." The room erupted in gasps. Catherine's voice lingered softly in the silence. "You said nurses were replaceable, but these lives weren't. And you knew that." Marcus lunged for the mic. "This is doctored," he barked. "This is manipulated. Catherine has a grudge, security. Remove her." But no security moved. They were frozen too. Rebecca zoomed in with her camera, capturing Marcus's panic. Live stream exploding. Comments flooding. "OMG, this is real? Arrest him. I work at this hospital. It's true." Catherine stepped closer to Marcus. "You want to talk about underperformance?" she said quietly. "Let's." She tapped the tablet again. Clip after clip. Violation after violation. Emails with Marcus's signature. Invoices for equipment never delivered. Orders to falsify records. Direct quotes. "Shift staff again. If they quit, they quit. They'll Medicare the full amount. They won't notice. Patients don't matter. Numbers do." Guests recoiled. Politicians stood up, ready to flee. Board members whispered frantically. Donors put hands over their mouths. And Marcus stood there, sweating, trapped, exposed. Catherine raised her chin. "For 3 years, I documented everything you tried to hide. Every cut, every lie, every death." The ballroom fell into a grave-like silence. Then, Richard Chin stood up. Richard Chun stood slowly from his seat at the board's table. Not hurried, not dramatic, just inevitable. He buttoned his jacket, cleared his throat, and spoke with a calm that sent electricity through the room. "Mr. Grayson," he said, "I believe it's time we stopped pretending." Marcus snapped his head toward him. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Richard stepped forward. He reached into his jacket, and for the first time all night, someone screamed. The metallic flash of a gold badge caught the light of the chandeliers. "Special Agent Richard Chun," he said, voice steady. "Federal Bureau of Investigation. Healthcare Fraud Division." The room exploded. Gasps. Shouting. Phones everywhere. Chairs scraping as guests stood, stunned, shaken, unable to decide whether to run or record. Marcus staggered backward like he'd been punched. No, this is insane. This is illegal. This is... Richard held up a stack of documents. "Mr. Grayson, we have spent 18 months investigating you. What Nurse Hayes collected filled the gaps in our case." Marcus's face drained of color. "We have 400 hours of recorded conversations, 73 counts of Medicare fraud, 19 counts of reckless endangerment, 11 offshore accounts, and direct evidence linking you to falsified billing schemes." He dropped the documents onto the nearest table. The papers slid across the surface like blades. "And as of 10 minutes ago," Richard continued, "federal warrants for your arrest have been signed and executed." Marcus's lips trembled. His world, built on lies, greed, and dead patience, was cracking open. You can't do this here," Marcus sputtered. "This is a charity gala. There are press, donors, politicians." Richard smiled thinly. "That's exactly why we're doing it here." Panic overtook him. The same man who strutted across magazine covers. The same man who humiliated a nurse minutes ago. The same man who called nurses replaceable. Suddenly became a wild animal. He bolted toward the exit. Guests screamed as he shoved past them. A woman fell. A waiter dropped a tray of crystal glasses. A politician nearly stumbled trying to avoid him. Security didn't move. They were frozen, unsure who to obey. But the FBI had no such hesitation. 3 agents in suits, blending seamlessly into the gala until now, moved in perfect synchronization. They intercepted him before he reached the doors. Marcus screamed, "Get off me. I'm a billionaire. I own half the people in this room." His voice cracked. He wasn't a king anymore. He was prey. 2 agents grabbed his arms. One pinned him against the decorative pillar, so hard the lights trembled. Phones recorded from every angle. Marcus's cheek smashed against the marble. His $180,000 watch snapped off. His cufflinks clattered across the floor. His ego shattered completely. "Mr. Grayson," an agent said, "you're under arrest." Marcus thrashed wildly. "No. I built this hospital empire. I saved lives. I gave you all jobs. You can't do this to me." Catherine watched from the stage. Expression calm. Posture steady. Eyes unblinking. This was justice. But the night wasn't over. Not even close. Rebecca Torres, the freelance photographer, stepped forward. Her camera still recording. Her eyes burning with righteous fury. Her phone buzzing violently in her pocket. She lifted her press badge for the crowd to see. Rebecca Torres, investigative journalist, ProPublica. Marcus froze mid-struggle. He knew that name. Everyone in Washington did. She was the journalist who brought down a corrupt senator, a pharmaceutical CEO, a $1 billion insurance fraud ring. Rebecca's voice boomed over the ballroom speakers. "Everything you've seen tonight," she said, "has been live-streamed." The room gasped again. Marcus went limp in the agent's arms. Rebecca turned her camera screen toward the crowd. 127,000 live viewers. And climbing. 137,000. 149,000. 165,000. The chat flew by so fast it became a blur. Expose him. He's done. Justice for the nurses. Lock him up. This is why healthcare is broken. I work in his hospital. Everything she said is true. Rebecca raised her chin. My full expose, she said, went live 60 seconds ago. She tapped her phone, and the headline is trending #1 on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. The screen behind her lit up with the article. The billionaire who profited from death. How Marcus Grayson built his empire on suffering. Cameras flashed. Board members started crying. Politicians tried to leave before reporters swarmed them. Marcus tried one last time to speak. You can't do this to me. I'm. Rebecca cut him off. You're a murderer in a suit, Marcus. And tonight, the world finally knows it. It happened slowly at first. A whisper here. A head shake there. Then a tidal wave. Nurses in the room stepped forward, tears in their eyes. Patients' families approached, demanding answers. One man shouted, You ignored my wife's calls for help. She died because of you. A woman threw her drink at Marcus. Another tried to claw at him before agents held her back. Marcus screamed. Catherine did this. She set me up. She's a jealous, miserable little. But his voice was drowned out by 800 people screaming back. Monster. Killer. Greedy bastard. You let people die. You ruined families. You deserve prison. Marcus curled inward, shaking. It was over. His power. His reputation. His empire. His control. All gone. And the night wasn't even half finished. The board of Grayson Health Systems, once loyal to Marcus, stood huddled like frightened sheep. Their chairman spoke first. We need to separate ourselves from him. Another whispered frantically. Our stock is going to crash. We're already liable. The press is outside. We'll be investigated next. Richard stepped toward them. Ladies and gentlemen, federal law demands full cooperation. The more you hide, the harder it will be for you. The chairman nodded vigorously, hands shaking. We remove Marcus Grayson as CEO. Effective immediately. Unanimously. A secretary hurriedly scribbled the decision. Marcus screamed from the floor. You can't remove me. I own you. I own this entire board. The chairman looked away. No, Marcus. You killed this empire yourself. Marcus was dragged past them. For the first time in his life, no one looked at him with respect. Only disgust. As Marcus was being escorted away, Catherine stepped down from the stage. Her scrubs were still stained. Her hands still steady. Board members turned to look at her. The chairman approached hesitantly. Dr. Hayes, we'd like to request your assistance. Richard stepped forward. She's the most qualified person in this building to advise you. She has the documentation, the clinical expertise, and the trust of the staff. Rebecca added, she also has the trust of the public. And you're going to need that tomorrow morning. The chairman swallowed. Dr. Hayes, would you be willing to act as interim clinical safety director while we transition under federal oversight? Catherine didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She didn't revel. She simply nodded. Only if you promise real change, real staffing, real compassion, real accountability. The board members nodded quickly. Yes, of course, absolutely. Catherine looked out across the ballroom. Marcus's empire didn't just collapse tonight. It imploded publicly, violently, irreversibly. And she wasn't done. Not yet. The moment Marcus's cuffed body was escorted out of the ballroom, the hotel staff flung the side doors open, and a wall of reporters surged in. Microphones, cameras, flashing lights, shouts, chaos. Is it true you falsified medical records? Marcus, did you profit from patient deaths? How do you plead? Is Grayson Health collapsing? Who is Dr. Hayes? Is she the whistleblower? Why did you call nurses replaceable? Marcus flinched like each question was a blow. He tried to hide his face behind his cuffed hands, but the press was relentless. He'd spent years inviting cameras for his charity events. Now those same cameras came for blood. An especially vicious reporter shoved forward. Mr. Grayson, do you have anything to say to the families of the 19 patients who died because of your cost-cutting? Marcus's knees buckled. Agents had to hold him up. For the first time in his life, the billionaire looked small, pathetic, terrified. Inside the ballroom, Rebecca glanced at her phone. Her live stream had rocketed from 127,000 viewers to 312,000, then 458,000, and climbing. Comments flooded the feed faster than the app could display them. This is the biggest scandal of the year. This makes me sick. He let people die. Catherine Hayes is a hero. I work in his hospital. Everything she said is true. Lock him up. The momentum was uncontrollable. Twitter erupted. TikTok was posting clips of the humiliation. Instagram had reels of the arrest. Reddit started 3 mega threads with thousands of comments. Grayson Health had officially become the most hated corporation in the country, and it was only getting worse. At 10:48 p.m., minutes after the arrest was broadcast live, traders on overnight markets saw the headlines. All goes triggered automatically. Sell orders flooded. Grayson Health Systems, GHS, stock plummeted. $127 per share, $64 per share, $37 per share, $12/share. Then trading halted. Index funds carrying GHS reeled. Investors panicked. Hospitals affiliated with the company across the country braced for chaos. By midnight, analysts were already predicting bankruptcy. By morning, GHS would be worth pennies. Marcus had gone from billionaire to broke in hours. Before the gala even ended, federal agents poured into corporate HQ, billing departments, Marcus's penthouse, his private jet, his offshore server facility, 3 of his hospitals. Each one was seized under emergency federal warrant. Agents confiscated servers, emails, financial ledgers, hard drives, backup tapes, documents from hidden safes, his personal laptop. Everything was bagged, tagged, and carried out while board members watched in horror. Grayson Health, the empire built on blood and suffering, was being torn apart piece by piece. It happened outside, right before he was shoved into the FBI van. The questions, the lights, the betrayal, the humiliation, the handcuffs, it all pressed down until Marcus snapped. I gave you all everything, he screamed at the crowd. I built this empire. You can't do this to me. I am healthcare. I am. He collapsed to his knees. Hot tears streaked down his face. His nose ran. He looked up at the sky as if begging God for a miracle. There was none. He screamed again when agents pulled him up and shoved him inside the van. The door slammed. The billionaire vanished behind steel and tinted glass. The crowd erupted in cheers. When FBI vans left, the ballroom fell strangely still. The chandeliers still glittered, but the magic was gone. Guests stood in stunned clusters. Some cried. Some argued. Some scrambled to distance themselves from Marcus. Others whispered Catherine's name like it belonged to a legend. Richard spoke quietly to her. It's over, he said. Catherine looked at him, eyes hollow. No, she said. It's not. Because she'd seen something nobody else had. This wasn't justice. Not yet. Justice wasn't Marcus getting arrested. Justice was the hospitals being restored. The understaffing fixed. The patients protected. The nurses safe. The corruption uprooted. Marcus's fall was only step 1. Several board members approached Catherine with trembling hands. The chairman wiped sweat from his forehead. Dr. Hayes, the federal government is taking control of our assets. We need someone who understands the clinical needs. Someone with integrity. Catherine crossed her arms. And someone you can use as a public shield. The chairman flinched. She wasn't wrong. What exactly do you want? She asked. He swallowed. We're appointing an emergency transition council. We want you as interim director of patient safety for all 47 hospitals. Rebecca stepped in. That's a national position. That's nearly 23,000 employees. Catherine looked at the board. She saw something she'd never seen before. Fear, accountability, desperation, humility. She inhaled slowly. Fine, she said. But we do this my way. And your way is, the chairman whispered. Catherine didn't blink. Staffing, safety, oversight, and transparency. Every record, every ratio, every death, everything he covered up, we expose it all. The board nodded vigorously. Yes, of course. Absolutely. Anything you need. Catherine looked at Richard, then at Rebecca. Then she said, then let's rebuild what he destroyed. By 11:30 p.m., news networks had formed a barricade outside the Ritz-Carlton. Every channel ran breaking news. Billionaire Marcus Grayson arrested at gala. Whistleblower nurse exposes deadly hospital fraud. $2.1B healthcare chain under federal investigation. Nurse who brought down a billionaire. The Catherine Hayes story. Reporters begged to speak to her. Catherine refused. Not out of arrogance, but because she had more important things to do. Her first act as interim clinical director? Calling every ER supervisor at every Grayson hospital. Effective immediately, she told them. No unit will run without legal staffing ratios. No nurse will do double shifts without consent. No patient will be left unattended. If administration refuses to comply, call me. And for the first time in a decade, nurses cried with relief. At 2:14 a.m., Catherine finally left the hotel. She stepped into the cool night air. Rebecca walked beside her. Richard trailed behind, speaking quietly into his earpiece. Catherine exhaled deeply. It was finally quiet. The kind of quiet that came only after a storm destroyed everything in its path. I didn't think it would happen tonight, she whispered. Richard adjusted his tie. You didn't just expose him, he said. You ended him. Rebecca nodded. And you saved a lot of lives. Catherine didn't smile, but her jaw unclenched. She whispered softly, No, I just told the truth. The truth did the rest. As the sun rose, news networks announced. Grayson Health System stock opens at 43 cents. Federal trustees take control of all hospitals. Board to restructure entire operation. Former CEO in federal custody awaiting charges. Marcus had lost everything. His fortune frozen. His home seized. His jet impounded. His wife filing for divorce. His investors suing. His board abandoning him. His legacy reduced to ash. He wasn't the healthcare king anymore. Just another inmate waiting for sentencing. The Grayson hospitals no longer bore Marcus's name. They were renamed the Hayes Health Network for safety, for care, for people. Catherine did not choose the name. The board did. She tried to refuse, but thousands of nurses petitioned for it. The hospitals were fully staffed, properly funded, under federal oversight, transparent in all procedures, safer than they'd been in decades. Patients thrived. Staff stopped quitting. The public regained trust. And Catherine became the symbol of what healthcare should be. Not a billionaire with a suit, but a nurse with a heart. The prison was bleak, cold, sterile, quiet. Marcus Grayson sat inside a small interview room wearing an orange jumpsuit. His hair had grown out. His skin had paled. His arrogance was gone. When Catherine entered, His eyes widened with something between hatred and shame. He tried to speak, but she raised a hand. "Don't," she said. She sat across from him. Silence crashed between them. Finally, Marcus whispered, "Why? Why did you do this?" Her voice was calm, measured, deadly. "You humiliated me for years," she said. "You humiliated all of us. You cut staff until people died. You lied. You stole. You buried bodies under spreadsheets." He trembled. "You ruined everything," he whispered. "No," she said softly. "You did." Then she pulled something from her bag. The plastic staff appreciation plaque. The one he threw into the trash. She slid it across the table. Marcus stared at it like it was a weapon. Catherine stood. "You told me nurses were replaceable," she said. "But the truth is, it was you. Your empire survived without you. Your hospitals thrived without you." She stepped to the door. "People like you think you're the heart of the system." She looked back one last time. "You were just the disease." The door closed behind her. Marcus was left alone with the plaque and his silence. In the end, Marcus Grayson learned the lesson he spent his life ignoring. Hospitals don't run because of men in tailored suits. They run because of nurses, because of people like Catherine Hayes. The billionaire thought he was untouchable, but he forgot something simple. Receipts don't lie. Truth doesn't die. And justice always finds its way to the surface. Some call what happened that night justice. Others call it revenge. But maybe the real question is, what do you call it? If what Marcus did made your blood boil, then don't just click away. Don't just feel angry. Do something. Subscribe. Because staying silent is exactly how people like him stay in power.